Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Syama Prasad Mookerjee Research Foundation. In the part of the series, we have with us Professor Mukul. He is a Professorial Fellow at National University of Singapore. He's also the Director of Public Policy at GVF and a Fellow at SPMRF. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I will set the context here. Sir has written a paper and done an analysis of Budget 2016. And the whole interaction will be on the basis of the analysis of the budget that he's done. So I would begin this interview or say an interaction by my first question. This word transformation has been used a lot in the media narrative. I won't ask you whether this budget is transformative or not. My question will be, how is this budget a step towards the journey of transformation of India?
This budget has explicitly suggested that there will be several initiatives that will help India in the process of India transforming to a higher level of both economic development and higher level of maturity as a society. Now, when we look at the budget, it is doing this by having the right set of policies on balance concerning the sustaining broad-based high rates of growth. Secondly, by improving the fairness of the budgetary processes and budgetary outcomes. And third, by preparing the country to progressively move to a higher level of development.
So when we talk about higher level of development, I would focus on the households.
Right.
So in this process of moving towards higher level of development, how does it improve the life of the households?
So we need to distinguish between quality of living and quality of life. Quality of living is our day-to-day activities. Are they becoming much more comfortable? So if you are going to go in a very crowded suburban train in Mumbai or any other city, and by the time you get to the office, a lot of your energy is spent, then productivity is difficult to come by. So you have to make sure that that journey becomes smoother. And this applies in every area. If you don't have as a villager electricity, then your daily life is much harder. You don't have water supply, then it becomes much harder. So now what the budget has done is in many areas improved the quality of living. We need better quality of living, but we also look to future, where our hopes are that in the coming years, our lives will improve significantly. And that's where the quality of life issues tend to come in. So at one point, we may be satisfied with an average college, but then we want a high quality university education. Or we may be satisfied with a basic health facility, but then we would want a more sophisticated health facility. Same thing applies in food. We may be satisfied at one point with grains, but as the higher quality of life would mean dairy products, it will mean more fruits and vegetables, it could include fish and other types of food as well. So that's the quality of life, quality of living. And what the budget does is in many areas, it improves both. Now,
so can you point out certain specific points in the budget which addresses both quality of life and quality of living?
Okay. Let me give example of railways. Railways are going to have a centrally managed railway display network.
Okay.
Now, a lot of time, people do not know which platform the train will come, when it will come, what will happen. So, with that, and with the railways taking the collaborating with ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, to improve those amenities further. The stations are cleaner. The Swachha Bharat mission is part of the cleaner station is of particular benefit to the citizens. We got additional seats in general class on busy roads. That will improve the lower half of the income population. It will ease their rail travel. We also have railway research centers now. So we are railways are trying to have knowledge applied to the citizen-centricness, which was lacking before. Another example is the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, where under which 35% of 18,452 currently unelectrified villages have already been electrified. Now only those who don't have electricity and have to rely only on sunlight know how much your life's opportunities expand, how much your life becomes easier, and you have hope for future when your village is electrified. And it is done on a very transparent basis, where through an app you can follow the progress very rapidly. We have got the Pahal scheme, under which subsidies for cooking gas are transferred directly to the beneficiaries. And we are relying more and more on different types of direct benefit transfer, so that the people who should be receiving the benefit get the benefits without any leakages, side payments, others, and with much greater degree of security and certainty. And that improves the daily life in a material way. There are also other areas in infrastructure, in certification, not having to have the official certification. You can self-attest on many of the documents now than before. That reduces the hassle and the transaction cost of doing so. So this is where what the budget has done is to take relatively small measures with very large, disproportionately large impact on the quality of living and quality of life.
Sir, let's head this interview towards something which is being really talked about in the media and also in the parliament, and I want to focus on that scheme, and that is Manrega. And my question to you is that the allocation for that scheme has definitely been increased, but the quality of allocation has changed. So, how do you see this, the discourse which is going around Manrega in the public domain?
Let me first make a more general point. Is that often we have a tendency to look at a scheme in isolation, forgetting what the objective of the scheme is. That objective can be achieved by a combination of many schemes together as a program. Now the idea of Manrega, where the way it was originally conceived, represented failure of our past government policies, that after so many years we need a scheme that is aimed at unskilled labor in those areas. But what the current government has done is to take initiatives which first of all take the scheme itself and changes it towards generating productive assets rather than the make work type of program that it was earlier.
When you talk about productive assets, can you just elaborate for someone who does not understand what it is?
Yes. For example, the ponds and wells and the compost pits are going to be created. Now that will reduce farm risk, because if you in farm, what you don't want is water to flow. You have to catch the water where it is, because if the water flows, the topsoil washes away, land becomes less productive. So now with digging of ponds, there will be farm productivity can go up, land will improve. So you may have a Manrega scheme, but you are digging ponds, and Manrega is now aligned with other schemes. And because it is aligned with other schemes, you can generate those skills assets. You can generate those productive assets. This is to be combined with the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, where the way the risk that the weather, the climate change poses, the risk that the non-nature related pests and others, they can pose to the farmers. Now this scheme has been well designed to do the smoothing of wealth management of farmers. And that will again help as improve the farm income. There is also the idea that the farm incomes, or the proposal that farm incomes will be doubled by 2022.
Sir, on this point, we've got the interview towards the later stage, और मैं focus करना चाहूँगा किसानों की बात जो हमने करी. And now this question which really comes around is the growth rate of agriculture right now is not as much as it should be. Now, my question to you is, from a farmer-centric point of view, if I look at the budget, what do you see in form of an innovative step in order to ensure that the vision to transform the farming income or double the farming income in the prescribed time can be achieved?
Some of the measures that I mentioned, the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, there is also the irrigation scheme, which is going to expand the irrigation. And what we need to realize is that world over, the farm income comes from the non-farm sources during off-season work, and it comes from improving the value added of the farm products. So today, a lot of our farm products are going to waste because we haven't made the necessary infrastructure investment in cold storage. The government is going to set up a national agricultural market that gives economic freedom to farmers to sell wherever they want to, and to reduce the transaction cost, because one of the consequences of the earlier policies is that we had a lot of regional monopolies or regional power groups that were getting a lot of the value added of the retail price of the farm products, and the farmers were not getting. So what the integrated strategy is to try to see that those things come down, the farmers gets more, they get more economic freedom, they get the technology, they get the increased value added from processing and so on by related investments that were not done before, they get risk protection, and that the skill levels tend to go up. So there's a lot of skill level based farming that is going on, that we are going to see more and more in the country. So it is achievable to double the farm income. Now when we look at from the national point of view, we have got more than half of the labor force that gets their income from agriculture and related services, but they generate less than 20% of India's GDP. So per capita income cannot go up. We cannot move towards the upper middle income country unless we do this objective of doubling the farm income. And this is the first time again when the target is set, and the characteristic of this government is that when they set the target and then they work backwards to say what do we need to do to achieve the target.
Is that more
in an
towards an
integrated way.
outcome-oriented way of looking at it?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that is a sense of real planning.
Okay.
The real planning is, I want this outcome, what do I need to do to get that, what are all the systemic changes
The inputs
in an
that you
integrated way that I need to make in related areas. So setting up the National Agricultural Marketplace will involve a lot of technology. It involves changing the APMCs and linking them through that. It involves communicating and educating the farmers. It involves creating cold chains, the irrigation facilities, changing Narega for more productive farm assets. So they are looking at it in a very integrated way, and that's what makes one lot more hopeful, and that this objective is going to be achieved.
And you talked about risk, the ability of farmers to protect them when the crop fails. The idea of protecting the farmer at that point, and the budget definitely talks about a scheme where the premium charged is very, very low. So how do you see, is that a game changer in agriculture?
See, there is no one initiative that can be a game changer. I think what we are learning through this budget and what we have learned in terms of the experience is that country needs lot of growth nodes. Some nodes will work, some won't work. And when you want to achieve an objective like doubling farm income, you have to do lot of things. And lot of things in an integrated way you have to think through. So the policy coherence and coordination among the organizations, those are very critical. And this is an area where the government also needs to focus a lot more, because agriculture is a state subject.
Yes.
The union government has certain policies, and we need much greater coordination and therefore much greater level of political maturity, that the country's core interest should not be sacrificed in partisan politicking. And the budget sets a very good example of this kind of thinking, and one hopes that other stakeholders will also cooperate so that we get that policy coherence and the organizational coordination that is needed to focus on the outcomes. And it is the outcomes that really matter, not a single initiative or that. But in that, the processes are also important. So we have to be good at process orientation, but as well.
Sir, you talked about nodes, different nodes of growth for the economy to move forward and the life of the people to improve. And I would take one of the very important node is manufacturing.
Yes.
And make in India. Now, when the global demand right now is very low and the global economy is not doing as good as it has to, and some analysts say that the world is staring at another recession.
Yes.
How do you see this budget addressing the core scheme of taking Make in India forward and providing the jobs to people who come out of agriculture?
Notice that the Make in India is not just about manufacturing.
Okay.
What we need to increasingly look at is how much of the value addition of an economic activity that India is capturing. Okay? So even though the mobile may be made abroad, but if we are the ones providing services, software services, others, applications, and so on, then we would be participating. Now, what happens is the data are not kept that way. So what this budget does is not partial and narrowly looking at manufacturing or narrowly looking at agriculture or services. So as we just indicated, in agriculture, one of the critical area is value addition, which means processing of agricultural produce, and that is manufacturing. So even though you are focusing on agriculture, the manufacturing is coming in, and it is that integrated nature of manufacturing, services, agriculture that we need to look at. The Make in India initiative has one of the focus is on ease of doing business, and there are several initiatives that are towards ease of doing business, but the states have to do it as well. And the competition between the state, so long as it's constructive and healthy, is going to be positive for the country. Because today many states want to say, now I want to improve my ranking. But if you want to improve your ranking, you got to do certain things that will improve India's competitiveness as well. And many, I have not mentioned many connectivity projects that we are having. For example, we have an inland shipping now that is very important, that was never there before. That will be a very good growth node, improve India's competitiveness. We have got a huge port sector development so that the transshipment we are doing through Colombo and others will become less, and our ports will be carrying much larger proportion of Indian cargo than before. That is a growth node, but that port will give the fillip to both the services and to the manufacturing and to our agriculture exports as well. So you can see the kind of linkages. Or take our Prime Minister's initiative of solar energy initiative, which is going to be headquartered in India. Now that headquarter, that solar energy, is first time we are coming together. We are beginning to develop some capacity in solar industry area, both in manufacturing as well as in services. Or take the example of International Financial Center services that we want to give, and again we will add value. So always think of where do we add value, where do we become relevant to the world.
So in the point of relevance and adding value, this is like towards the flagging in of the interview. One thing which is being mentioned is about the exports, and how do you ensure that your exports start moving forward, because the global demand is not there, and is there any innovative way in which we can look towards addressing that factor?
This is part of the larger global trade shift that is occurring. That earlier the relationship between GDP and global trade was that trade was growing twice nearly the rate of global GDP growth. Today it is 1-to-1. And in the last 2 years, 60% of global trade growth is in services. Now, the area of services where we are relatively weak are transport, they are finance, and tourism. And if you can see, the budget has got areas in this where this will then get reflected in our international receipts as well. And we are, of course, weak in manufacturing, so that's where the Make in India initiative. But don't go by value of exports alone, because a lot of it was inflated because high price of oil and other commodities. We have to look at much more nuanced way on the quantity, what is happening, and how we can diversify our markets. So this is where the globalization of Indian companies is very, very important for us, because that is going to bring about some of the Make in India initiative require large scale. And that large scale can be provided if our companies are also global.
And I think that's where you're talking about connectivity, and connectivity would be an integrating pillar which would add on to it. So my last question on this interview is, we generally talk about India as an elephant and moving forward. So if I take that analogy, so what are those pillars, those legs, these, if you want to pick up from the budget, okay, these are the specific things which will ensure that the elephant moves forward, or we are on that path of transformation? What are those points, like 1, 2, 3, which you would list as the key takeaways from the project?
Uh, if we look at the distinguishing characteristics, the taking relatively small measures to make large impact is one of the very important. India is called an elephant, but notice that elephant is a vegetarian and very, very strong. Okay, and elephant has its own way of approaching. So we should not try to become what we are not in terms of the nature of our country. We have certain traditions. We have a federal setup. We have a political system that we know the kind of system that we want, and we should continue to refine and improve on that, and not try to become something else. But the budget. So it's not the legs of the elephant, but it is the nature of the elephant will remain. What we are trying to do and what the budget is trying to do is to have, if India is an elephant, to have the elephant focus more on the outcomes and to not get diverted by the seemingly exciting but somewhat negative type of energies that are expended on them. And I think on that score, the budget is very mature. That doesn't mean there are no future things to be done. There are, all budgets are part of the trade-offs. So some trade-offs some people can disagree with, but when you create a balance sheet and look at it as part of the larger process, ask the question, does the budget move India forward as in transforming India to a higher trajectory? The answer is definitely yes.
And what will you say to the Aam Aadmi that is watching you, who does not understand economics at all, who does not understand the finances of budgeting, just wants, अच्छा इसमें मेरे लिए क्या है?
Yes.
The
Aam Aadmi is going to find that many of the public amenities which are essential for better quality of living and life, those are going to be more and more forthcoming and evident in India as the part of the initiatives that the budget has undertaken. So the Aam Aadmi needs to understand that the different initiatives have different time frames. So things are not instant. We want good suburban railway system in Mumbai. It takes 3 years, 4 years to build. And the Aam Aadmi also needs to support the kind of initiatives and recognize as to which type of initiatives will improve the daily life and allow their aspirations to be realized.
On that note, and as we say, slow and steady wins the race. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Professor Mukul Ashar, that is Pradeep Bhandari for you. Thank you so much for this interaction, Professor Sir. Ladies and gentlemen, signing off. That for SBMRF. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.